So welcome to the viewers of Prairie State Policy. This is actually the first video in the series that we're filming. We did attempt to film a similar video back in October, but I think due to some technical difficulties, we had to put that on the back burner. But I'll be glad to be joined here by my State Representative Mike Zalewski, who represents Riverside, Brookfield, Justice. What are the other communities that you represent, Mike?
Bridgeview, Cicero, Berwyn, portions of LaGrange, portions of Countryside. So I basically make a C, a Pac-Man gobbling up the near southwest side of Chicago.
Okay, very good. And it's a 23rd House District?
23rd House District.
Sounds good. So as we sit here on January 27th, Mike just got back from Springfield, and we're meeting with him today to kind of articulate a little thing, some of the stuff that went on downstate in Springfield, some of the accomplishments, as well as what to expect moving forward in 2021. So once again, Mike, thanks for joining the program.
It's good to be here. It's good to host you in the arcade building. Welcome.
Yeah, well, appreciate that. And so I think the first topic that we want to jump to is probably the biggest news coming out of the State House in Springfield, where we had Speaker Madigan essentially not be reelected again for Speaker. He's been Speaker for the utmost of 40 years, with the exception of 95, 96, and 97.
Yes.
Big deal. Longest serving House Speaker, I think, in the nation. So definitely made headlines here in Illinois as well as the nation. But from that, we got a new speaker, Chris Welch, who is neighbors with us just down the road. And I believe he lives in Hillside, represents Bellwood, Baywood, Hillside, Westchester, that sort of area. So I'll just kind of refer it back to you. Talk to me a little bit about the process leading up to that that point, the inner talkings maybe with your colleagues. How did you get elected?
So we got down there on Friday, the Friday before, and it was a 5 days unlike anything I've ever experienced. It was in the Springfield Convention Center, which is effectively Springfield's version of the All-State Arena. You know, it's a big convention center where we're socially distanced, and there's all these nooks and crannies where people can meet throughout the session, and that actually had an effect, I think, on the dynamic, because I think if we would have been in the Capitol, there would have been a highly different energy to everything, and I think that would have had an outcome change. The Speaker Madigan went through 3 different days of candidate question and answer forums, speechifying, things like that. And Monday morning he called me and he said he was suspending his campaign. He felt like his candidacy would be a distraction to the caucus, and he no longer, at the moment, he wasn't going to pursue it, and he urged members to consider other options.
Mm-hmm. And as well as calling you, I read stories too that he was basically going down the list of the House caucus, calling all the Democratic members, asking the same thing.
Yeah, he called. I don't know how many people he called that morning, but he certainly got the word out. there was no for a guy who was sort of PR shy over the last 10 years. That piece of information was adequately disseminated. And 2 candidates emerged, and Speaker Chris Welch and Representative Jay Hoffman, and we had a really good substantive dialogue. I couldn't be happier that Chris Welch is our speaker. He's going to do a wonderful job. He is the right mix of sort of front-facing dynamic change, while at the same time he's going to make sure that the caucus operates with some continuity, which is really important. I'm excited about his leadership. I'm excited to serve underneath him.
And I do want to go back to some of the leading up events, the Speaker stepping down. So I think way back, maybe as early as October, November, kind of forget the timeline, but there were talks that he may have had opposition this time around. Stephanie Kiffelet from DuPage County, essentially saying that he's not going, she will not support him for Speaker. And then I think you had about 18 to 19 fellow caucus members jump on that ship. And so I know you can't speak for the Speaker, but kind of leading up to that, did you feel that maybe he felt confidence that he'd eventually get the votes he needed, the 60 votes he needed leading up to that time, or was there some self-doubt between maybe that October, November leading up to this month in January?
Self-doubt is putting it too strongly. There's certainly uncertainty. I think COVID prevented us from gathering in ways that would have given anyone a sense of what was about to occur. A lot of calls, a lot of texts, a lot of emails, a lot of trying to meet one-on-one and face-to-face, but just never felt like you could get everyone in the same room. And then we had those, we had a candidate forum on Friday, we had a candidate forum on Saturday, we had a first vote on Sunday with Speaker Madigan involved. And he came up 9 votes shy on the first ballot. My sense was, knowing the Speaker Madigan and how his mind works, that he simply judged that it was going to be too hard to get 9 people to switch their vote to him.
Okay.
He probably could have done maybe 2, maybe 3, but he wasn't going to be able to convince 9.
Okay.
And that's the point he withdrew.
Gotcha. So at that point, do you think that that's probably when he kind of sort of realized that his tenure was over?
That's Sunday night roll call for sure.
Okay. And where did the roll call occur?
He was 51 votes for Speaker Mike Madigan. I think 19 votes for Ann Williams, and there may have been 51 in 1970. There may have been 3 present votes.
Okay. Was that at the center?
Yeah, it was in the basement. We had this
Okay.
very cool space underneath the main floor that was actually nicer than our chamber, the makeshift chamber. And we met in there, and I think people are going to have like PTSD about that room for years to come, I think.
And so after the vote then, you mentioned that I think the last 2 candidates were Jay Hoffman and Chris, Representative Welch. Talk about a little bit about that, kind of leading up to those 2 candidates. Did Chris always have it in the bag when it comes to speakership, or do you feel like Representative Hoffman may have had some downstate support and it maybe would have been difficult to get those 60? Or what was your inclinations based on when we had the 2 candidates left?
Yeah, they actually both, at the end of the day, I think said things that I think were similar in nature. Jay's downstate, and he has a longer history in the General Assembly than Chris, but it was sort of clear between Monday evening and Tuesday that Chris's block of votes were immovable, and that's a testament to his ability to coalesce blocks of members. He was able to go out and convince the Black Caucus to immediately unite behind him. He was able to build a coalition with the Latino Caucus, and eventually he just came to a place where he was in that mid-50s range, and he was never going to go dip below 50. And I think Wednesday morning we were in a position to vote for his nomination by acclamation, which ended up being very good. I think there was a lot of concern that if we got to the convention floor, it could get messy, and that didn't happen. The speaker was able to get sworn in. He was able to deliver a speech that set the tone for the General Assembly, and at the end of the day, I think he got off on a really good foot.
And so, going off of that by acclamation, so I think it wasn't until Representative Welch announced, I think on that Monday night. So I guess because he had that weekend where he really wasn't a candidate before that roll call vote. So how did basically he become a candidate? Was it more internal talking with the Black Caucus, and they kind of compromised on that, where they saw that there was an opening there because you had Ann Williams, you had, I think Jay Hoffman was still a candidate there. So do you know how that kind of maybe shaped out?
Yeah, I can't speak for the Black Caucus because I'm not a member. But I think Chris had expressed throughout his career, asserted a leadership role. He took on tough issues. He led the executive committee with great distinction. He also led he's led on a number of different issues that I think were important to members. I also think he is, again, someone who differs in Speaker Madigan's style in that he is a very public facing. He's a guy who understands the power of social media. He's a guy that understands the power of a strong message. And in that moment, there was probably a lot of desire to get behind a candidate like that. I think he did a really nice job. So his candidacy made a lot of sense, and I think he was able to pull together quickly. Again, he was able to put blocks of coalitions together, and I think he was able to get to a place where it was it was going to not be possible for him to lose any votes, and ultimately we were able to give him the gavel on Wednesday morning.
Okay.